Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to the rule 7 now, which is the multiplication by constant, okay? Before I proceed, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you've not clicked the notification bell, I don't know what you're waiting for, okay? So before you go into this rule 7, it is important that you take note of rule 1 and rule 2, okay? So go back to the video series, make sure you understand rule 1 and rule 2, or you can pause the video here, go to your notebook and look at rule 1 and rule 2 and make sure you understand it very well before coming here, all right? So what we are doing here is that we're looking at, for instance, if you have a constant multiplying a particular function. So how do you go about it, okay? So for instance, you can have, for instance, a constant. There are several examples of this. Maybe you have a constant and the linear function. A constant and linear function, okay? A constant and linear function. So for example, you're having integrating 8x, for instance. You're told to integrate this, so you can see the constant and the linear function there. And that way, again, you could have a constant and a quadratic function. So you can have a constant. Okay, you can have a constant and quadratic function. So you can have a quadratic function. So for example, you could be told to integrate 8x squared. Are you seeing it? A quadratic function. Or it could be any other form of polynomials, okay? It could be a constant and you have a polynomial. So maybe like a cubic function, all right? So it could be any form of polynomials. So you could have a polynomial function. So for example, it could be something like 3x raised to the power 4. It could be anything. It could be a cubic function, or it could be also an exponential function. So it does not really matter. A constant is when you have a number. It could be fraction and exponential. You could have an exponential attached to it. Okay, it does not really matter. So for example, you're told to integrate 3/5 exponential x, something like this. It does not really matter. Now, how do you go about this? Okay, so there are several types. So you can think about any other one. It could be a constant and a rational function. It does not really matter. So, but the rule is very easy. It's just say that if a function is multiplied by a constant, you bring out the constant and integrate the function as you would have normally have done that using any of the 15 rules. If you've been careful, like for instance, when we're doing sine or trigonometry function, I've been applying this rule while solving, but now I'm just bringing it to your forefront, okay? So here is that when you have a function multiplied by a constant, you bring out the constant, then you integrate the function as normal as you would normally do. So let's have a look at this. So for example, let me just state the rule here because I know some of you do right. So the rule 7, it states that if a function, is multiplied by a constant, if a function is multiplied by a constant, okay, what you do, you then bring out the constant. So you bring out the constant and then integrate the function. As normal, okay? To integrate the function as normal using any of the 15 rules. discussed in this series, okay? That we're gonna discuss in this series, okay? All right. So basically what I'm saying is that if, for instance, we're integrating f of a, f of x, so that means what you have the function. So what you do before you begin, you bring out the a, and you'll be left with what? F of x. All right. Then where you have it, then you integrate the function. It could be a trig function. It could not. It does not really matter. Then you how you have integrated a trig function, for example, you integrate it normally, and then you now have the integral value of this. Okay, then you now add plus c. All right. So if a function is multiplied by a constant, you bring out the constant, you integrate the function as normal, and using any of the 15 rules we discussed in this series. What are the steps here? So there are basically 3 steps here. So there are 3 steps we use. Number 1, the first thing you do is that you rewrite the question. Okay, so you rewrite the question by bringing out the constants. Then number 2, after you write it, then you have to then integrate the function as you would normally do using any of the 15 rules discussed in the series. All right, so using any of the 15 rules. Okay, any of the 15 rules discussed in this series. Okay, so you can use any of them depending the type of function it is. Then number 3, which is the last one, then as usual, you then add c, and you do this only if you have an indefinite what? Integration. Only if you have an indefinite integration. All right, so let's pick an example for this. So let's say, let me pick an example. All right. So let's assume that number 1, we're told to integrate 2 x squared in respect to dx. Okay. So step 1, what you do, you bring out the constant, right? So you say you have to rewrite the question by bringing out the constant. So we're going to bring out the constant now. So the constant is 2. So it's going to be 2 into bracket integral of x squared, right? So you're bringing out the constant. Then the next thing, you will integrate the function as you would normally do using any of the 15 rules discussed in the series, okay? So, so I've talked about how to integrate. So you add 1 to the power divided by the new power. So you're going to have 2 into bracket. You add 1 to the power divided by the what? The new power. Okay. Then, and this is going to give us 2x3 divided by what? 3. And the final step, step 3, we add c because of indefinite integration. Then step 3 is going to become 2x3 divided by 3 plus c. Are you seeing it? And that's how you do it. Okay, so let's pick another example. Number 2, let's assume we're told to integrate 8x, let's make it interesting, cube in respect to dx, okay? So step 1, what do? You bring out the 8 and you'll be left with what? X3. Step 2, what do? You have 8 into bracket, you add 1 to the power. So that is the reason why I said you have to review rule 1 and rule 2. Okay? And then you divide by the what? The new power. So this is going to give us 8x raised to the power 4 divided by 4, which is same as 2x raised to the power 4. And step 3, okay, step 3, the next thing you do, you then add what? You then add c to what you're solving, and that will be the answer for that. All right? Okay, so you can play around with other questions as well. Maybe I should try another example, just maybe throw in an example like with an exponent that has a constant already. So let's assume we have 8 exponential 5x in respect to dx, okay? So the same thing, step 1, what do? You bring out the constant, so it's going to be 8 integral of exponential 5x, okay? Then step 2, all right? Then we'll now integrate exponential 5x. So if you go back to my previous video, I showed you how to do it. So you differentiate the power, and that will give us 5. Then you now divide the original question by that. So it's going to be exponential 5x divided by what? 5, all right? And this is going to give us 8/5 exponential what? 5x, all right? Then step 3, we then add c to this. It's going to give us 8/5 exponential 5x plus what? C. 8/5x exponential 8/5 exponential 5x plus c. All right, that is that. Let me throw in some questions for you to try. So like I always say, try as much as possible to solve these questions. You can have a discussion with your friends and see if they get the same result, or you can put it in the comment section and other subscribers will have a look and see if it's correct as well. So let's try this now. Okay, so let's try this. So number 1, let's assume we're told to integrate 4 exponential x in respect to x, okay? Number 2, we're told to integrate 6/x in respect to x. Number 3, we're told to integrate 5 square roots of x in respect to x. Number 4, let's assume we're told to integrate 3 sine x, okay, in respect to x. Number 5, we're told to integrate 8x cubed, okay, in respect to x. Number 6, you're told to integrate 4x, okay, in respect to x. Number 7, you're told to integrate 3/2 exponential 5x in respect to x. So let's try these questions and see if we can solve this. And that will be that for that. So that will bring us to basically everything we need to know about when you're integrating with a constant, okay? So when you have a constant, the rule is that you have to bring out the what? The constant. So no matter what you're doing, just bring out the constant, then integrate the function or the variable as you would have normally have done it before. All right, so that'll be that. The next video, I'll go straight to the power rule, and please don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. So when I upload a video on the power rule, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so I'm going to see you soon where we'll talk about how to integrate using the power rule.